What is up, guys? Eric here from Real Film Reviews, bringing you another movie review, this time for the new John C. Reilly film, Ralph Breaks the Internet. Ralph Breaks the Internet is directed by Phil Johnston and Rich Moore, stars John C. Reilly, Sarah Silverman, Bill Hader, and Gal Gadot. It is a sequel to the 2012 animated film Wreck-It Ralph, and this film covers a somewhat similar plot line in that you have Vanellope and Ralph, who are now best friends after the first game, and when Vanellope's game gets broken by accident in the arcade, they're forced to go into the new internet router that has been plugged into where all of their arcades are plugged in, because they have to go onto the internet to go to eBay to get a new piece for it so that way her game doesn't get thrown away. Now, just like the first movie, this film is full of beautiful animation. The movie looks wonderful throughout the whole thing, and the sheer scope of the movie is just amazing. Once they actually enter the internet in the movie, it's really impressive the amount of different stuff that they were able to cram into one film to capture so many different aspects of the internet. It was really funny. There's tons of little Easter eggs, and I honestly feel like if you watched this movie multiple times, you would be able to even catch so many more things that are just kind of hidden in the background. The voiceover work is impeccable. I honestly don't think you can get a better duo for a film like this than John C. Reilly and Sarah Silverman. They're two people who are just so genuinely funny, and they play these roles so well, and I feel like they bounce off of each other so well in this film. And then along with them, they introduced a lot of new characters in this film. Some of them I'll talk about a little later, but the one that I think I enjoyed the most was probably Bill Hader playing this guy who sells pop-up ads on the internet. He was really funny, and he very much sort of encapsulated that like sort of scummy guy who sells things, but really is like trying to be a good person, and I just felt like his role was so spot on, and Bill Hader is just hilarious, so he can make anything work. The movie is also very funny. There is one specific sequence in this film where Vanellope is sent to the Disney website, and when she's there, you see just the insane amount of things that Disney owns, which it really is just crazy how many different properties they own now at this point. But that sequence in the film is one of the funniest sequences in the whole movie, and is probably one of the best, most like self-aware comedic sequences that we've ever gotten in an animated movie, because it looks itself in the mirror and makes jokes, even though this movie is made by Disney, about the way that Disney makes their movies, and it was a really, really entertaining sequence. And then the movie's also just heartwarming. It's a kids movie, so really at the end of it, you want there to be a lesson for kids to learn, and this movie has that, and you want it to be something that's nice. It doesn't want to have some sad, depressing ending. You want it to feel like when it ends, you're like, that's good. Like, that's a good ending for my kids to see. And honestly, the lesson that's learned at the end of the movie is something that I think kids and adults can both take something away from. It's not one of those where it's just strictly for kids because it's very generic and bland. This is one that definitely delves a little deeper into the way that people act with one another, and I think that worked very well with the story the film told. Now, my main issues with the film mostly revolve around the storytelling, and part of that is the fact that there are these two new characters added into the film. There's Shank and Yes, voiced by Gal Gadot and Taraji P. Henson, and I honestly felt like those two characters were very bland. They served one sort of small purpose in the general story of the film, but their screen time was very stretched out, and I really didn't enjoy that because neither character was very funny or entertaining in any way. Yes, they served a purpose as a plot device, but they felt like just because they got people to play the parts that were pretty famous, they felt like they should include them in more of the film, when really they don't do much and they don't add much personality or character to the film whatsoever. But by far my biggest issue with this film is the plot itself. The film is about them going into the internet because they have to get a replacement part for Vanellope's game. That is their entire goal when they are there. But once they arrive, obviously things happen and they have to go do a bunch of other stuff, but sort of that primary plot point gets left behind. It's very important when they first get to the internet, and honestly I'd say for the first like 20-ish minutes that they're there, maybe 20 to 30 minutes, that is all that they are after, is obtaining this piece. But then a certain point in the movie hits, and all of a sudden no one's talking about it. And it's also put on a timer in the film. Like, they have X amount of time to obtain this piece or they don't get it. And the fact that the film just kind of leaves it behind and doesn't really address it in any way for really, really long stretches of time really felt like they just kind of were like, we're making a kids movie and kids won't care. But when you're watching it and you're aware of how much time is passing in real life, along with how much time that must equate to in movie time, you realize that it doesn't really make any sense how they're, trying to obtain this, because so much time is elapsing in the short amount of time that they were pretty much given to get there to get the piece. And I realize this could just be viewed as just kind of nitpicky, but I feel like when your film is about one thing, when you start your film and it's about this plot item that is so important to the story, and then sort of like 30 minutes in, you realize that you've introduced these other things to the story and you think they're more important when they aren't to what the overarching story is. It really feels like you're just forgetting about the primary plot and focusing in on all these little things because you think they'll bring laughs or change the dynamic of characters, when in reality, I need to know what's going on with the primary plot because that's the thing that affects the characters the most. I'm gonna give Ralph Breaks the Internet a B. I think this movie is equal to the first. I was never blown away by the first Wreck-It Ralph. It was a really enjoyable, fun movie, and I would say the exact same thing about this one. If you like the first Wreck-It Ralph, if you like animated films, this is a solid one to go check out. Well guys, as always, I'm Eric. If you enjoyed this video, please do like, subscribe, comment down below what you thought of Ralph Breaks the Internet, share everything we do here on Real Film Reviews, and hope to see you guys later.